look at how floppy she is. I love the floppy. The floppy is so satisfying to me. Hello and welcome back to my Dandelion Diaries for a very exciting video, at least exciting for me. I officially have in my hands my main book for 2026, and it is a journey planner from Nisha Fernando Designs. I'm gonna go ahead and unbox this with you guys and also kind of plan out how I'm going to use each section of this book. So this might be a bit long of a video, but I really want to show you guys the full process of, you know, what happens when I first get a book and how I try to intend to use the pages based on either years past using the same book or new inspiration that I think of for different sections. But anyways, let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to try to save the sticker because I like sticking that in my journal. Okay, a little card. Dream boldly, plan wisely, journey well. It's her little, I guess you would call like an info card or a business card. I think she sent one of these last year. This is my 2025 journey planner. Yeah, so she sent one of these last year and it said something different. So nice to see we have a different one for 2026. Very nice. And I will likely keep it inside the planner like I did for my 2025 book. She is very well packaged. I'm just going to take my little carrot cutter here and try to cut through that tape a little bit better. Also, I'm sorry if you don't like the crinkly sounds. I am a crinkly sound fan, so I'm going to leave those in. Anyways, here's the books. Let me get this box out of the way. Okay, so here is everything that I got. I have the A5 clear cover here, which her clear covers are seriously some of the best clear covers on the market. I don't think she's selling them individually yet, but if you can get your hands on one of her clear covers, even if you aren't using one of her planners, they're so well structured and they do fit a very large book. So if you have like an A5 common planner full year or a really thick, nice, you know, chunky 500 plus page notebook that is A5 size, definitely check out her clear covers. They're constructed very well. It has a secretarial pocket, another pocket here, another pocket here, and another pocket here. And just, I'm very happy with the ones that I have got from her. I also requested a reading plan for the Bible because my husband and I are planning to read the entire Bible in 2026. We're going to give it a try. And she basically has this laid out in a daily format. I know it looks really teeny tiny print, and it's because it is, but the Bible is a big book. So there's that. But it basically breaks it down by day what you need to be reading from the start of the Bible to the very end. So starting in Genesis and ending in Revelations. I'm really excited to test this out and kind of keep it with my planner since it is on my goal list for 2026 to do to read it with my husband. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, this was an optional add-on to your planner. So if you were ordering a planner, you had the option to add in a reading plan. It didn't come with it, but it also didn't cost anything. So it's just an extra little piece that she's adding now. I think originally when she was releasing her planners, it came with the planner, but now it is an optional addition. Okay, the other thing, and this is new for her 2026 release, is a ruler. And I was so excited because it's also a bookmark and it's flexible. So I know it may not be everybody's thing to have a very flexible ruler, but for me, I love having a flexible ruler. I don't know why, there's just something about it that makes it a little bit easier to kind of work on a page, especially when the page is very fluffy. So like, let's say I'm starting here and like this is bent really back and this is really full over here. Having a ruler that will flex with me and the page is a lot easier to work with than having one that's a bit more rigid. And I don't know what happened to my metal ruler to give an example of, but essentially a more rigid piece of cardboard or a card pushes down the page and creates a little crease. This will not do that and will let me make a straight line without damaging the page. So very excited about that. But it also acts as a bookmark with the little today at the top. I think it's so cute. I'm really excited to use this in addition to the Midori index tabs, which is what I currently use. These are these little metal tabs up here. I get these from Jet Pens, and I think it's going to be a great addition to have both the ruler and and the index tabs, and it helps hold the place. Bookmark. You know what I'm saying. Y'all know what I'm saying. Anyways, let me actually open up the 2026 book and stop wasting time. I do think, is there a film on this? Okay, scratch that. There is a clear film, at least on one side. It's probably on both. I managed to get this off with my horrible nails right now, and it does peel off to reveal a very nice shiny other side. So that makes me think there's probably one on the front side too, helping to protect the design element. But now that I know there's at least one on the back, you guys know too. So now let's get into the planner. So I got the A5 all-in-one. I mean, there's really she only offers like one planner, I guess, like the Journey Planner. And she's got it in an A5 size, a B6 size, and now an undated A6 size. I was incredibly tempted for the A6 guy because it would be literally the perfect health planner because of the size, and it's got meal planning already in it, and it's got enough sections and everything else. But ultimately, since I already had my weeks, I decided I'm going to stick with that. And since the A6 is undated, I will wait and see maybe next year if she comes out with a dated version, or if I decide that my weeks just stops working for me for some reason, I can go ahead and pick up an A6 if I need to and start it wherever it starts because it's an undated book. Anyways, this is this lovely planner here. I went with a linen again just because I truly love this color. She also has it in a black that I think is called Noir. Might be Noir Onyx. I don't remember. I'll put it on the screen. But she's got a black version of this and also a new color that's a bit more of like a pinky purple called Mallow. And I was tempted to get the Mallow, but I don't know. There's something satisfying about having the same color book over and over again. So I kind of want to just consistently pick the same color. I don't know. At least for this year, I picked the same color. But this is this gorgeous book. Look at how floppy she is. I love the floppy. The floppy is so satisfying to me. It's chunky. It feels great in the hand. It doesn't even need the clear cover, honestly. The feel of this is so buttery. It's stunning. I love it. But knowing myself, I am going to put a clear cover on it because I'm going to cover this in stickers. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it resting on the clear cover because my desk is a bit of a mess. Actually, I'll just slip the back cover inside just so that way we know it's for sure got at least one side of the cover being clear of debris. And now we're going to flip through the planner and also make my little notations of how I want to use each section of this book. This will probably be the longest section of this video, so I'll try to leave timestamps for different sections in case you're curious. But literally all I'm going to be doing is taking a sticky note, like literally a sticky note, and writing out what I want to put on it and sticking it on the page. So not going to be a whole lot of setup necessarily, just intentions for those sections of the book. And spoiler alert, it's going to be very similar to how I used it in 2025. So let's just get started. Opening up, we have a just nice blank thick page here. I love decorating this. I'm going to do washi here. I have a flyleaf page here that is pretty well seated, I would say. It does glue to this other page, which is typical for this type of binding, but you still have a very nice selection of page here. I don't think I'm going to do anything with this though. Last year, or I should say this year in 2025, I just glued it shut. And I think for 2026, I'm also going to glue it shut. But this is the opening page. It says, "Life is a journey, travel it well." And it has the Nisha Fernando Designs Journey A5 365 2026 down here. So it's a nice intro page, but for me personally, I think I'm gonna glue that shut. Okay, next we have the very first section of the book, and this is the year at a glance. And I'm just going to try to train it to lay flat a little bit. I know it's the beginnings of the planner, and the planner's huge, so it's not going to be perfect, but we shall try. I'm going to just clip this down while I am talking. But I want to use the 365 section here, or the year at a glance section, whatever you want to call this. I want to use this for pain tracking, essentially how I used it last year. And I will show you guys an example, but I'm going to just make my little note here. So I'm going to do pain tracking, but I'm also going to include menstruation here as well. And this one, menstruation is maybe because I am hoping to become a mom in 2026. So I have a whole section of that in another book that I'm keeping really good track of. Anyways, for the other side of the page here, since the year to glance, we get the full 2026 and then we get the 2 future years, 2027 and 2028. I'm planning on using both of these over here for nothing. I'm going to cover this whole thing up with a dashboard. So I'm going to put dashboard on my sticky note as well. And if you're afraid to write on a sticky note on top of your page, just write on the sticky note pad and then stick the sticky note down. I don't really care. So anyways, this is how I use my year to glance for 2025, and this is essentially how it's going to be again for 2026. So I have a full page here dedicated to like pain tracking and my period, and then another page here that I used a full page sticker to kind of create a vision board or a dashboard of what I wanted for the year in terms of my goals. And I've done pretty well, I think, with a lot of these. Actually, I'm really impressed with myself and very, very proud in a way. But this is essentially what it's going to look like again for 2026. So blank to a somewhat finished section. Then we have the 2 blank page spread. And I was really tempted to not do anything on these 2 pages because this current year I have logs on these pages. I have an adulting log and then also a 52-week cleaning tracker log. And here's the thing. I love having both of these trackers in my planner, but I think having them at the very front is kind of challenging for me. But at the same time, I don't think having them anywhere else is going to be an option. So I'm going to go ahead and just plan to put them on these 2 pages. And then depending on how many notes pages I have in the back, I will reevaluate. So I'm hoping to put my adulting log and also my 52-week cleaning tracker on these 2 pages. And yeah, it's just having them in the front, like so in the front, it makes it a little bit harder to like flip to them when I want to reference the page. But we shall see. Like I said, I'm going to wait until I get to the back and look at how many pages I have. Then we have the goals section. If I can turn the page here. My hands are too dry. There we go. We have the goals section, and I'm going to use this pretty much exactly how I used it in 2025. I have no intentions on changing this up at all. So I essentially reformatted the page. So the way it is blank is you have a goals section and action steps, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. I covered up all of those titles, and I basically just sectioned this out in terms of categories of goals for myself. So I have health goals, wealth goals, mental goals, spiritual goals, social goals, and inspiration goals. And I formatted it down this way in terms of timeline breakdown. So I could have done it to where I did like health, wealth, whatever, all the way down here as the category and gone this way, but I really liked the way it looked this way a bit better. Like I guess I read down more in like a column format than across in a row format. So I'm going to basically rework the page to where it has my categories at the top and then the timeline breakdown as I go, similarly to the timeline breakdown that's in a Sterling Ink Common Planner. So it's going to have a someday, a 1 year, a half year, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily section. And then I will fill in the goals at that time. I will set all of this up with you guys. So there will be a future video with the full setup of everything going on, but I'm just kind of showing you guys how I'm intending to use the pages first. So with that, let me go ahead and stick the sticky note down, and this is going to be the goals page. Okay, next we have the quarterly section, and this one I was really struggling on what to do with, but I think I want to stick with something similar to how I used it for 2025. So you have all 4 of your quarters. So you have quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and then you have the months for each one of those quarters as in addition to an extra box at the top. So I thought about using this in the way that I used it again in 2025 here, and that is with a essentially breakdown of month and what's happening with my garden and my pets. Because in 2025 I was getting married, I did not have a garden planner, so I didn't really have a place that I was dedicating to all of those types of notes. And so I just kind of hodgepodge this together last minute. I like this, but I want to improve this. So I'm still intending on using this section for pets. I'm still intending on keeping track of maybe like a monthly review of what's going on, like a monthly snapshot. But I also want to add in like a tracker of sorts. So like how often I'm cleaning like the chicken coop, or bathing our dogs, or doing claw management, mowing, garden care, things like that. And so I think having that in a more quarterly habit or even monthly habit might work well. I'm not sure how I'm going to format it yet, but I do think I want to have some kind of like garden / pet tracker thing. And then for the monthly sections, I think I want to do, again, more like little snapshots of what's going on with everything. And then I also thought about doing like a quarterly recap instead of the tracker. So I'm just going to put quarterly recap on here as a question mark, but this section is going to be reworked a little bit. Like I'm taking some inspiration of how I used it for 2025, but I'm going to try to make it better. I'm going to try to enhance it. Anyways, let's keep going. Next in here we have the Calendex Perpetual Calendar, whatever you want to call this. I'm going to use this for weather, precipitation, and important events. And I will show you exactly how I did it for 2025 in just a second. So for 2025, this is how I used these pages. And you have 6 months at a time. So you have January through June here, and then you will go through the rest, so July through December. But I essentially cut the column in half, and I have half of it being the weather, so a high and a low temperature for the day, and then I left a dot next to the weekday if it rained that day, and a different color dot if it snowed. And then at the bottom here, I have a little stat block, so about how many books I read, pages, miles I went running, how many times I ate out, a number of eggs I collected from our chickens, number of workouts, and I think I want to basically replicate this entire thing again, and go from there. And then, I should say, on the other side of the column, I have the important events or dates or full moons or birthdays, just kind of like reference material. And I did this already in my B6 work planner, so I'm going to be able to easily reference from that planner to put it into another planner, which is really nice, versus having to go back and forth from like multiple different places. Anyways, I'm just going to use the same layout. So again, empty version, pretty much completed version, and what it's going to turn into. So I'm really excited to bring this back, and I feel like, did she change the size? There's no way. No, she didn't. It's exactly the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same. I will say the printing looks a little bit darker on... No, it's about the same. Never mind. It's about the same. I'm just crazy. It's okay. But I was going to say the ink looks a little bit darker, but I don't think it is. Anyways, that's it for Calendex / Perpetual Calendar. And then the next section in here is the habit tracking, and essentially this is going to be for habit tracking. And I don't really plan on, I guess, writing down all the habits on the sticky note, but when I do set up the planner, I will share with you guys which habits I plan on starting with for January. I don't fill out the entire section for the whole year because my habits do change. Obviously, if I'm doing the same thing consistently for a month or two, I need to add a new habit in because I'm already consistent with that one. So they just change up. But I'm going to add habits over here in a list format, and then there's a little weekly habit section here where I'm intending to do a sentence a week. And I'll show you guys how that looks. And then I'm doing a notes section over here. I'm going to just plan to do decoration because I didn't really have a use for it in 2025. And I don't think I'm going to have a use for it in 2026. But essentially, this is how my January went. I did not use this planner for February, so just ignore February. But we have January up here with the different habits. And then I did add a graph and ultimately took that out at some point. And then I did my little sentence and my decoration. So I basically have used it the same for most of 2025. I think in July was the first month. No, June was the first month I took out the graph. So I like it better with just the habits, and I moved the graph into the monthly pages, which I'm planning on continuing for 2026. But essentially, I'm going to be doing the same thing for the habits. So again, blank version, semi-filled out version. And that's going to be all for the habits section. Which I'm so glad. It has habit trackers in the horizontal format as well. I didn't think I was going to like it at first, but after using it for several months, I enjoy this a lot better than the other direction because I don't have to turn my book. I can just flip the page and it's already in the correct direction. Okay, the next section in here is meal planning, and guess what? I'm going to be using it for meal planning. So I'm not going to make a sticky note here because I don't really have a need to set anything up. But I will show you guys how I plan on using this section. Essentially, it's going to just be keeping track of meals. And again, I didn't use this planner for a few months at the beginning of the year, and then I brought it back in and just kept up with it a bit more. But I'm going to be writing down breakfast, lunch, dinner for all of my stuff, keeping track of different restaurants I go to, and then groceries and note sections here. Sometimes I write down a grocery list. Sometimes I've written down a little supplement tracker thing. I'm not really super strict on this. I just want to keep track of the meals more than anything else, and then any restaurants we go to. Yeah, so like here's an example of a grocery list, and then I was tracking how many weeks I had left to my wedding here. The other cool thing about this section is there is a water tracker at the end of each day, and also a little section for marking if you take any supplements or vitamins or medication, and a little barbell as well for if you're doing any kind of exercise. I kind of want to do this for 2026 where I write the exercise in this little space next to these two buttons, but I'm not 100% on it yet because I am keeping track of my weightlifting stuff in my actual health journal. So for now, this is mainly just going to be meal tracking. That's the intention for this part. Okay, so after all of the meal planning section, which is a very large section of this book, so if you were looking for the journey planner, but you wanting to try the journey planner, but you don't think you would need the meal planning section, just know that it is a pretty decent sized section of the book. Yeah, it's just a really nice sized chunk of pages. You could probably repurpose this for something. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it's a daily thing. Maybe like listing your exercises, gratitude, some kind of doodle a day or something. You could do any number of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be meal planning. It's just another weekly layout essentially. Then we have the monthly section of the book, and this is where I'm intending on using this bottom space for graphs and then using the monthly spaces for actual planning purposes. So I, again, don't really have anything to write down on a sticky note in terms of setup. I'm going to be likely using some stickers to decorate the pages in advance, but actual planning wise, I'm going to wait until the year starts before I start using these pages and go from there. This planner does have the extra 2025 of December and also the 2027 of January, so it's got like 2 extra months in here, so it's a 14-month book. I don't really have intentions for either of these pages. I just have no need for them, so I'm going to leave them blank, which sounds bad, but it's okay. You know, they're there if I need to use them at another point in time. But yeah, I plan on just using the monthly section for monthly planning and then putting my graphs and stuff down at the bottom. And because of how much space you get for all of these months, there is still this bottom half over here always open. So even if it's a 6-week month, it still has space. Even below here, it still has space underneath the monthly if you need to keep track of anything. It's not a lot of space when it's a 6-week month, but it's a pretty decent amount of space, I would say. You still get a good 5-6 squares worth of space. So after the monthly section, we go into the weekly. And again, I don't really have anything to set up here since I'm going to be using this planner when the year starts. But I plan on using this for gratitude. I was going to start using it similarly to how I did in the beginning of 2025 with just like routine tracking or trying out like a more sectioned layout in the weekly sections, but I found that just doing a little bit of decoration on the edges of the pages and then writing down a piece of daily gratitude or a piece of daily joy was a much better use for me on these pages. And so that's how I'm intending to use them. We'll see what happens, obviously, when the year starts, but this is how I'm intending to use the pages, and that's basically just as a place for positivity, a place for gratitude, a place for joy, and getting to use my lovely tapes that I have way too many of now. So that's essentially all I'm going to do for the weekly pages as of this moment. It might change, like I said, but right now that's how I'm planning to use the weekly pages. After the weekly pages, we go into the dailies. I should say all of the edges are shaded here in case you didn't notice that. So if you're looking for the next section, just go to the next shaded section on the tab, if you don't tab your planner at least. So yeah, we go into the dailies. So every monthly section of the dailies has a monthly dashboard page, and then you have one page per day with a timeline if you need it, and the page is kind of marked, so you could split the page in half or in quarters if you wanted to. Oh, I should also mention every page is page numbered. I think I've said that before, but just in case, it's okay. Anyways, I plan on using the monthly header page for the same how I've used it in 2025. So intentions, review, and currently inked. So here is my January, and I did not go back in and review, but essentially this is what I would use the sections for. So I would split the page into 4 sections, have a currently inked section, this month section, which is basically a task list dedicated for that month, a section down here for intentions, and then another section for review. Here is the April version, the May version. Like essentially it's going to just be consistent throughout the planner. This year has been a lot more challenging for me in terms of using my planner, so it's a little bit more blank than my typical planners are, but again, the intentions are there, so I really need to make that into a sticker. Geez. Okay, then for the daily pages, I'm just going to use them as journaling pages. Essentially whatever I want, scrapbooking, memories for the day, lists, washi tape hauls, whatever. Like the daily pages are just going to be whatever they turn out to be. Okay, then after all of the daily pages, we have notes pages at the back. And again, depending on how many I have back here, I may end up moving my tracker pages, my adulting log, and my 52 weeks cleaning tracker to the back. But let's see how many pages we have first. Okay, so essentially there are 15 pages and the index page. I really want to save the index page for my 2027 mind mapping. This is essentially what I use these pages for in 2026 or 2025. Geez, now I'm getting all my years mixed up. But I want to save this section for my mind map of what I need for 2027. And yes, I already think that far ahead. Do not judge me. I enjoy planning. But this is essentially how I used this section for this year. So I made a 2026 mind map of the different planners I wanted and kind of broke down like what I wanted for each one of those planners and possible options of what I could use for a planner in that section of my life. So there is that. Then I also want to put back here my reading log, or my reading log / reading tracker. It's more of a log. And also my date night log and my running log. So I don't know how many pages I'm going to really need for this. So let me just think about this for a second. Okay, I'm not really going to think. I'm just going to reference my old book here. So I did 4 pages worth of space for my reading log. And essentially that would be, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So 48 books, which I think would be plenty of room. If I'm reading more than 48 books in a year, I need to maybe change my hobbies up. I think I don't even know what I averaged in 2024, actually. I might have read more than that. Should I do a full another page? I feel like I don't need that many pages though. But I left that many pages here. I think I'm going to do I think I'm going to stick with 4 pages. Like, so 2 open page spreads. So let's just stick with that. So I'm going to leave this first page here blank, and then I'm going to do reading log for these 2 pages and these 2 pages. And then I'm going to go ahead and start, I think, my running log next. So that's how I did it in this book, and I didn't end up using my running log at all because I was a bad exerciser and didn't go on a single run in 2025, which is sad. Okay, I went on 1, which is still sad. Anyways, I think I'm going to do, in terms of high hopes, we'll do more than 4 pages. I will do the same amount as last year. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that should be good because let's think about this. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns worth of pages in a way, if I wanted to break it down that way, which would give me, essentially, if I was running every single day of the month, plenty of space for 8 months. And considering I don't think I'm going to be running every single day for 8 months straight, this should be enough space. I'm probably going to start off slow and do like 2 runs a week, maybe 3, just to get back into the habit of doing it. So yeah, I think I'm comfortable with saying I'm going to do these 2 pages and these 2 pages for my running log, and then move into my date night log. And this is just a fun way for me to keep track of places I go with my now husband, and where we've been, and it's just kind of like a fun little memory thing to look back on for me, and like what we were doing, or maybe if we go to like the same place all the time, which is also very common for us. We're very loyal to certain establishments. But yeah, I think 2 pages should be enough for the date night log, I would think, because I didn't even think I made it to the 2nd page. Yeah, I didn't even make it to the 2nd page for 2025. So I think that should be plenty of space to do these 2 pages. Okay, we have, how many pages left? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, I have 4 pages left. Exciting. Okay, so I can move the, whatchamacallit, the adulting log and the 52-week cleaning tracker to the back. Or I can leave this in the front and think of something else to put back here. Oh man, this is tough. Let me sit on this for a minute and let me think about what I want to do, because if I move these 2 trackers to the back of the book, what am I going to put on these 2 pages versus just having extra note pages in the back that I don't need to use for anything, or I could use for something else. So let me stew on this for a second. Okay, so I think I've decided what I want to do here, and that is do nothing on these pages in the back. So I'm going to leave my tracker here in the front for the adulting log and the 52 weeks of cleaning. I'm going to leave that in the front of the book, and then I think for the back, these pages that are extra, I'm just going to leave blank for now. I thought about doing something maybe like a traveling spread where like I take a photo of everywhere I travel and put it back here. Considering I traveled a lot in 2025, I also thought about doing just like breaking it down into quarters. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and just doing something for like 16 of something, whether it be like 16 events of the year, or like, you see, I'm kind of grasping at straws here. I don't really know what to do with these pages, so I'm gonna leave them blank for now. I don't think I'm gonna need to use them for anything. If I do, I obviously will share that with you guys when I set up the planner, but in this moment, when I'm thinking of setting up this book, nothing is coming to my brain on what to put on these pages. since I decided to keep the other things in the front. Yeah, because everything else I can think of that I would want to do, I'm already doing in a different book. So yeah, because like I'm already keeping track of like body measurements in my health book. I'm doing collections in that book. I'm doing other kinds of logging in the A6 book that I have. Like I'm doing so many other more niche things, I think, in those books that I don't have anything for these extra pages here. I think if I didn't have those books, I would probably have ideas for these pages, but I like a multi-book system. So I'm just gonna leave these blank for now, and it should be fine. It should be totally fine. Anyways, that is the Nisha Fernando Designs A5 Journey Planner I'm going to be using for 2026. Yay! Basically, that is all I have in terms of setup that I like to brainstorm for. I'm going to leave all of this together, and then when I actually go in with my setup supplies, I'll decide like what color tabs I want to do, stickers, and like the decoration aspect of what I want to use for this part, like this next video that I do for this book. I will have all of that with that video. So this is just kind of a peek into how I brainstormed or wanted to intend to use the pages for my setup. Yeah. If you have any questions, please let me know. I really have enjoyed using the Journey Planner for 2025. It is the book I ended up sticking with the most out of the 3 that I trialed for 2025. I definitely had a very off year in terms of using my books though, just because of wedding planning, being very busy. I traveled internationally twice. Like I was doing a lot more things that I've not been doing before. So it was kind of a year of experimentation when in terms of like what I was doing with my life, I guess. But yeah, I do have major intentions to fully use the 2026 book for 2026 since I don't have another option. I didn't buy anything else from my main book. This is the only planner that I plan on using. Before I end this off, I just wanted to show you guys a chunk update, I guess. So this is the new 2026 book, and this is my 2025 book that has been used probably like, I'd say a full 6 months of the year at least. There's some pretty sporadic patchiness in there, but I'd say it chunked very nicely. I don't have a lot of ephemera or anything like plastered in, but I do have lots of stickers, I would say, and washi tape. So I'm excited to see how a full year would look in this, since this is about 6 months, I would say, of planner usage. So yeah, that's kind of cool to see the chunk factor and the pages being used up, and just overall goodness of a good book well used. Anyways, again, I'm gonna stop now. I hope you guys are having a good day. If you ordered a journey planner, I'd love to hear about it down in the comments. What size did you get? Did you get her new mallow cover? I would love to hear all about it. Definitely really excited to set this baby up. Hopefully soon. But yeah, I wish you guys the best. Be blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.